Hello there everybody and welcome to a new video for Age of Wonders 4. And today, well, I got news about the upcoming Watcher patch. So, the open beta got a new update yesterday, and according to Triumph, they want to tweak around 2 more weeks before they finalize the patch, or at least that's how I understood the news. They are, as always, in the description box below as a link if you want to digest the news as a text. So, first up, I only got good news. I had 7 points here on my list, and they are only good news because a lot of the changes got all worked, and our opinion has been heard, and I'm delighted to bring you a bunch of good news. So let's get started with number one. So, in the original version of the Watcher update, the spell casting was limited. We were only able to cast one world spell per turn, and we pretty much hated it all. Nobody really liked that change. So what's now different? There's no more limit on how many spells you can cast per turn. That's gone. The only thing that's new is that we now have spell slots. So that's the total amount of spells that we can have prepped as something in our hand to cast whenever we want. So gone are the days where we could prime up all our tactical spells to use them whenever we want. We now have to select a few, like here too, to prime them up. I think that's a very, very good middle ground, because I think just prepping up everything and keeping everything on your hand is a very min-max playstyle, and it's unhealthy because if it would be a thing, everybody would do the same, and when everybody does the same, usually things are boring. So all in all, let's see what you guys think, but I think they pretty much hit the spot. Spell prepping is still a thing, but it's not as omnipotent as it was before. I like the changes at least. So, the second one, the hero cap. So, as most of you might already know, or might not, you have a hero cap here, but it's perfectly fine to just recruit one more over the cap. In case you didn't know, now you know. So, these heroes now cost you 30 gold and 5 Imperium for the first one, over your cap, then 60 gold and 10 Imperium for the next one, then 90 gold and 15 Imperium for the next one, then 120, and you see the direction. So, the further you go over your maximum hero cap, the higher the prices. But one maximum hero over the cap now costs you also Imperium, and I think that's a pretty decent price for the power that heroes offer, because let's face it, heroes are the real super units in this game, and a double-digit leveled up hero is much, much stronger than any unit you could hire up. So I think that's a pretty okay middle ground here again. So, number 3. Summoning is now no longer only possible right next to your leader. You can summon stuff right next to your heroes. So originally we were only able to summon stuff now inside the domains of our cities and right next to a ruler. This has been softened, so now every one of your heroes is a possible summoning platform. Pretty decent. I think here we have something which is a soft requirement, but it's very easy to achieve, and, well, we just cannot cheese with summons that hard anymore, and I think that's just atmospheric and not really a big gripe. At least not for me. So number 4, research and tomes. This one is something I'm pretty excited about. So now we have a change that goes as follows. To unlock tier 3 tomes, we got to have 4 tomes of our choosing. So we can now go for 4 tier 1 tomes if we'd like to. 3 tier 1 and 1 tier 2, whatever. So after 4 tomes, you get access to the tier 3s, and new is now also that the tier 3s have a affinity requirement of 3 points each, so it ain't as easy anymore to just splice into whatever you want. I'll be looking forward to what that does to the build landscape. I really, really dig the change that now tier 1 and tier 2 tomes are interchangeable. I can already foresee a lot of open-mindedness for a lot of people for different builds that encompass more tier 1 tomes. I think that's going to be a very, very interesting point of playstyle, and yeah, I like it. Do you? I really appreciate that change. It really feels like something that we'll be excited to play around. Number 5, and that's something I was totally excited about because basically, well, everything I wished for has become true. So ranged combat, ranged accuracy has been again reworked. So originally, the optimal range for your ranged units has been lowered by 1. That means your attackers were suffering an accuracy penalty, that's the word, for being further away 1 grid earlier. That has been reverted. So it's now finally no longer the case that your dudes are super bad at hitting stuff from afar. So you have no more longer those nasty positioning issues that I really didn't like to play with. I did play a lot with that version, and I gotta say it was really no fun. So where do we compensate that? With a lot of smart little changes. So accuracy is now way harder to achieve than it was before. It has been removed from support skills. There was one specific support skill that provided accuracy all over the board. Everything which gives you accuracy is now a little bit more attractive, therefore. But the other thing, which is also very important to note, is all the projectile enchantments have been changed and the unit enchantments have been reworked in a certain way as well. So now these arrow enchantments, they are 50% less effective in terms of damage bonus. And I strongly agree with this measure. This was exactly what I had in mind. I even think I mentioned in some of my videos, whatever. Now, the big change is arrow enchantments put on a condition, whereas melee enchantments now have the full damage and 20% extra if they get to hit somebody who has that condition inflicted by the arrows. Nice synergy. This way, a mono archer army is no longer as efficient as somebody who mixes the melee and ranged units smartly, because you have now on all those blade enchantments a 20% damage increase for the respective condition that the arrows inflict. I really, really like this direction. The direct damage is lower, the synergy damage is more emphasized. Let's see if archers are still stupidly broken. I'm afraid there will be, but at the end of the day, at least they are now somewhat nerfed, and I can foresee that this is a change that makes them fun to play with again, because you get now a nice payoff if you do your turn management well in form of 20% extra damage. I can already foresee a lot of good build ideas out of that. So, number 6, it's a little bit of smaller tome changes, but I found them very, very important to mention because they matter. So, the Entwined Thrall now evolves, my good friends. He has now a evolution into an Entwined Protector, which is a pretty strong shield unit. So now you have a nice payoff for keeping your skirmishes from the early game alive. Love this change. This makes these guys so much more attractive all of a sudden, because most of the time I was ignoring them because they were not good enough for the late game. Now they transform into something useful. I love that change. Speaking about changes, we also have a change for the Stone Spirits. They are now shield units. They were fighters, now they are shield units, and they got a slight buff all over the board. They got now a little bit more HP, they got some bonus damage when they get to hit immobilized and slowed units. Very thematic fitting change, I think. And on top of that, their resistance profile has been evened out a little bit. They are now all over the board a little bit less vulnerable and a little bit less resistant. That's the summary. Check out the patch notes if you are interested in more details. And the other change in the tome department, which is very important to note, all the map spells have been pimped up. All those spells that inflict some damage on the map and whatnot, they have now higher damage numbers and higher impact numbers. And a very interesting change has been also proposed here in the tome sector. The higher tier spells do now cost over the board a little bit less, and the lower tier spells cost a little bit more, but they have been pumped up in their efficiency. So the attempt is to make the higher tier spells more attractive this way. Let's see how that'll play out. And the last thing on my list, number 7, is a very exciting one. I don't think it will, it reflects on this map because I opened it up before the changes, but magic materials have now a new distribution. Ores only spawn underground, and the rest of the magic materials can still spawn above ground. So we see there that Triumph emphasizes more and more unique gameplay elements into the underground. I really appreciate that, because admittedly I haven't played around with the underground too much myself yet, so I dig it that they do it this way and make it more and more attractive, pun not intended. So that pretty much sums up the big changes to the Watcher patch that have been implemented with a new rework. Really appreciate that, because I see two things. For one, I think those changes sound like something I want to play around. It provokes me already to think about new builds that go for 3 tier 1 tomes and only 1 tier 2 tome. Amazing stuff. This opens up entire new strategies. And the other thing, which I enjoy probably most, is I feel like we've been heard, my friends. So let's stay vocal in the Reddit or wherever you hang out, and or here in the comments section, you know, that's also a place to be. And yeah, well, let's see how the Watcher patch will go. There's 2 more weeks that are there for the tweaking, but I somehow expect that we've seen the biggest changes now. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think about it. I'm very confident about the direction this one went. And yeah, I'm curious to hear your opinions. Leave me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I'd be delighted to have you. And yeah, tons of other Age of Wonders 4 and strategy gaming content on the channel. Check it out. Be so kind. I'd be happy to have you. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.